Now, back to the Hope Matters radio show with financial expert James Hope. Each week at this time, it's real-time real estate. Whether you are active in the market or will be soon, your success when buying, selling, or investing in real estate is dependent on staying ahead of the market. Making the informed decision in an ever-changing market can be done with the help of the Delaware Valley's top real estate agents who are part of the Hope Matters radio team. Here's Amy Shea of Keller Williams Real Estate with this week's real-time real estate report.
This is a consumer alert. If you're thinking about or in the process of buying or selling a home, guess what? The state of Pennsylvania cares about you. The state wants to protect and educate you. Since the beginning of this century, real estate licensees in the state of Pennsylvania have been required by law to serve you with a consumer notice at your first meeting. Think of the consumer notice as your real estate Miranda rights. You have the right to buy real estate. You have the right to sell real estate. You have the right to representation in those real estate transactions. You have the right to remain silent because anything you say can and will be used against you until you have a signed agency contract with a real estate licensee. Here it is, plain and simple. The first paragraph of the consumer notice says it all. It states, in an effort to enable consumers of real estate services to make informed decisions about the business relationships they may have with real estate brokers and salespersons or licensees, the Real Estate Licensing and Registration Act, known as RELRA, requires that consumers be provided with this notice at the initial interview. So why? Why is this important? Well, this all came about because years ago, buyers were not represented in a real estate transaction. Worse yet, buyers had no idea they weren't represented. Only sellers signed a contract that protected their interests in a real estate transaction. After a while and a few lawsuits, it became evident that this was not fair. So today, both buyer and seller are entitled to representation, and the consumer notice defines the relationships between licensees and the consumer, and there are 5. 1 is a seller's agent. The seller's agent works for and acts in the seller's best interest. A buyer's agent works for and acts in the buyer's best interest. Then there's something called a dual agent. A dual agent works for both seller and buyer and acts as a neutral party, unable to disclose any detrimental information to either party. A licensee must have written consent from both the buyer and the seller before acting as a dual agent. Then there's something called a designated agent. Agents from the same company, in other words, can represent a seller and a buyer. The broker of that company then acts as the dual agent, and it's his or her job to take care to ensure that no confidential information is shared within the company. And finally, the 5th relationship you can have is something called a transaction licensee, which is basically not a licensed real estate agent. It's a non-agency position, but somebody who can handle paperwork. So here's the bottom line. The state drew up this document, the consumer notice, to educate and protect you, the consumer. Know your rights. Make sure when you meet with the realtor for the first time, you get a copy of the consumer notice. It's the law. Then once you decide to enter into an agency relationship with a real estate licensee, protect your best interest and sign a contract. To find out more about your rights as a consumer of real estate in the state of Pennsylvania, give James a call. I'm Amy Shea, and I'm here to welcome you home.